Thanks for staying with us here on Astro SuperSport. Now, as promised, our local stat man, the statistician, Mutt is his name. It's something we always look forward to. You might have seen his videos on our YouTube. But we have to talk about Harry Kane. Lots of accusations right now that Harry Kane is Tottenham. They are a one-man team. Is that right?
Adam, there's very little doubt that Harry Kane has been Tottenham's best player in the Premier League this season. But a couple of weeks ago, when he did get injured against Liverpool, Spurs went through 2 games without him. The outcome of those games, a 1-0 defeat against Brighton, a 1-0 defeat against Chelsea. Barely any shots mustered, barely any chance created. They lacked ideas in the final third, and that's why Spurs fans panic. And I don't really blame them, because this season, it's not just goals. Everything positive has gone through Harry Kane when it comes to Spurs. Let's start by establishing the degree of dependency that Spurs have on Harry Kane. When you look at all the major 5 leagues in Europe this season, Harry Kane has contributed to 24 goals for Tottenham Hotspur, and that only puts him second behind Robert Lewandowski, who's contributed to 30 goals for Bayern Munich. But here's where the difference is. Harry Kane has been involved in 67% of Tottenham's goals in the Premier League, which is a higher degree of dependency than even Robert Lewandowski, who's only been involved in 50% of Bayern Munich's goals in all competition. But let's look at deeper numbers in terms of the creative process that Spurs go through in the middle of the park. Because this season, when it comes to big chances created, Harry Kane has created 12 big chances for Spurs, and there's a visible gap between him and second place Son Heung-min, who's only created 7 big chances for Tottenham. Even Tanguy Ndombele, who's supposedly their main midfield enforcer, who's only created 4 big chances for Tottenham this season. But let's take a look at the deeper numbers, which is goal-creating actions, essentially actions on the pitch that have directly contributed to goals. In this particular metric, Harry Kane has got 18 goal-creating actions, and once again, there's a gap between him and second place Son Heung-min, who's only got 9 goal-creating actions. Harry Kane's numbers are almost double of that. But when you look at a few other creative metrics within the Spurs team, let's start by shots, right? Harry Kane has taken more shots than anyone else in the Spurs team. He's got 72. I think Son in second place has got 40-something. But he's not only taking more shots than anyone else, he's also making more passes into the penalty area than anyone else. He's also carrying the ball into the final third more than anyone else. And he's also putting more pressure on opposition defenders than any other player in the final third when it comes to Spurs. But here's the astonishing part, Adam. When it comes to crosses completed into the penalty area, you'd think that the fullbacks would rank highest, Sergio Reguilon and Serge Aurier. In fact, both of them have a similar number with Harry Kane, which is 6. And Harry Kane isn't even a fullback. He isn't primarily on the flanks either. He plays in the middle of the park. And that's how much Spurs have depended on Harry Kane when it comes to creating in the middle of the park. This sort of dependency, on one hand, he's a great player, but isn't it also scary when you think of his injury record and when you think of the fact that opposition will just look at him as one individual that they need to block off if they want to stop Spurs?
Many thanks there to Mutt Stats. So, Michelle, you know Harry Kane personally. You would have faced him in training, week in, week out. Are Spurs a one-man team? Are they too reliant on an individual? Can that be the case? And isn't it worrying that your chief goal scorer is also your chief creator?
Yeah, obviously, the stats don't lie. You know, he showed some amazing stats, and I also think the way they've been set up this season by Mourinho, yeah, it's really been Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, you know. And Harry is an unbelievable player, and he's so important for Spurs. And he was already in the past, but this season, the way they've been set up, yeah, you can see the games he wasn't involved, it's totally different. Or they lost, or they don't create much. So yeah, I think it's hard to say it's only Harry Kane, but the stats, they say a lot, you know. And I think especially if you know he will miss a few games a season, you can't just depend on 1 or 2 players.
Gary?
Well, I guess you could say Lionel Messi, Barcelona, Cristiano Ronaldo, Real Madrid. And
not English
Harry
teams,
Kane, Tottenham. No, I appreciate that. And Harry Kane, Tottenham. I would be concerned if, over an extended period of time, I had one player dominating the stats. And listening to those stats, you just have to go, wow, don't you? You know, Kane's got 13 Premier League goals. Son's got 13 Premier League goals. Then it falls off a cliff, I think, down to Ndombele, who's got 3. Whereas if you look at Man City, they've got Gundogan on 9, Sterling on 8, Foden on 5, Mahrez on 5. There's much more of a healthy spread. As we just heard, Kane's out of the side, and not only do they lose games, but actually their stats fall off a cliff. They aren't creative. They aren't getting strikes on goal. They aren't getting deliveries into the box. They aren't creating big chances. Yes, it is a concern, I think, for Spurs.
Can we ask about other players maybe having to